this is Gammon time. Not the usual. This is not our Granny Walton. No, certainly is not. And it's certainly not our Esther McVeigh. No, this is another one of the Gammon nut jobs. Yes, it's the one, the only, John Deadwood. Yes, John Deadwood. That rather extreme nutter Brextremist former Tory MP, John Deadwood, who rather talked rather slow and monotonous and talked complete and utter shit for KGBBs, where he wrote, "The Minister of Make-Believe is about to become the most dangerous man in Britain." John Deadwood. No, not John Deadwood himself, but Labour, where he said, if ever there was a time and an excuse for the government to make big changes to policy, this is it. To be short of gas and oil, where the Ukraine crisis struck many, have been a misfortune. I take it you mean that time under the Conservative rule, Mr Deadwood. Of course. But to be short again when the Iran crisis hits is incompetent. Get your teeth in, Deadwood. So nothing to do with that illegal war in Iran that's caused this then? Of course not. This is all Labour's fault. Always is. Oh, well, we'll see. But anyway, all sides agree that surging oil and gas prices and low availability of supply are major problems. The government is scrambling for subsidy bondages? That sounds a bit perverted. For subsidy bandages to offer to the worst affected by the high prices. The truth is, we are all affected by the high prices, and the state cannot afford to help us all out again. Public spending is too high already, and high state borrowing is causing further upward moves in government borrowing costs and interest rates. All sides have to accept that for the foreseeable future, the UK is still going to need plenty of gas and oil to fuel factories, heat homes, and power vehicles. The issue should be, how do we ensure we have access to enough of it, and how do we help keep the prices down? I think we know where you're heading here on this, Mr. Deadwood. Of course, the government, in the person of Ed Miliband, yes, Red Ed, lives in a make-believe world. Not like you when you were talking about Brexit. Of course not. Brexit was still a wonderful idea, even though it went to a different school that I went to. He thinks just a few more wind farms will solve the problem, while we wait for the much-delayed nuclear power plants. This crisis should jolt him into reality. Electricity only covers 1/5 of our energy requirements. Present level of renewables manages just 10% of our total energy needs across a year. And on days where with little wind and no sun, leaves us almost completely dependent on fossil fuels. Yeah, where the days with little wind and no sun nonsense. I'm sure I've heard that somewhere before. And also, when it comes to fossil fuels, doesn't the price go on the international market and all that sort of stuff? Of course not. You're making lies up. You're making total lies up constantly. Well, we'll see. But anyway, do continue, Mr. Deadwood. Most of us rely on electricity for our lighting and domestic appliances, but turn the gas on for heating and put petrol in the car. Can I say, Mr. Deadwood, you know, when you speak, was it your charisma that your wife found attractive? Of course, she didn't call me Mr. Charisma for nothing. Factories make steel, ceramic, paper, glass, and the rest all need gas. Mr. Miliband needs to see that the dominant uses of power needs fossil fuels. Look at him there. Our Mr. Deadwood. Doesn't he look like somebody you trust with your last 5 pence, don't he? Not much. All but one of our current nuclear power plants are scheduled to close over the next 5 years, leaving our nuclear contribution well down, even after allowing for the one new plant to come on stream at Sizewell. Mr. Miliband is going to need those smaller nuclear plants he dreams about to replace lost capacity, and in the meantime has to fill the gap closures will create. Mr. Miliband keeps telling us that if we got more of our own gas out of the ground, it would not lower the world prices. There is no world price. Gas delivers down a pipe from a UK field to a UK customer is cheaper than imported LNG, which has to include all the costs of turning it into a liquid and back into a gas and the extra transport costs. Do you know what? I can just imagine if we had one angry pagan in the chat and everybody else who's very environmentalist, they'll be absolutely screaming down at the screen at our Mr. Deadwood here. But anyway, do continue, Mr. Deadwood. Thank you, DB. The US supplies its own gas down a pipe to its own customers at a fraction of the price charged in the UK because it lacks the capacity to export more in liquid form at higher prices. The UK has no capacity to liquefy and export domestically produced gas. The UK lacks gas storage, and like many European countries, that made sense when we produced our own gas earlier this century. Our gas fields were our gas stores, and we could sink another well to turn up the gas. Today, Miliband's crazy policy is not letting us get more gas out of the fields, means we need much larger gas stores for import to help us overstocks in world supply. Jesus Christ, Deadwood. How much longer are you going to go? The minister stays paralysed by inaction, as if this were not a problem. Producing our own oil will have less impact on world prices given the volumes, though every little extra helps. What it would do is give the government a big increase in tax revenues. It will raise business investment and create more well-paid jobs for UK employees. Why is the Labour Party, the original party of the working man, so against more jobs in the UK and so in favour of oil jobs going abroad? The UK needs the Prime Minister to announce not just a few temporary subsidies of the worst off facing a big increase in fuel bills, but a whole new energy policy. Getting more of our own gas and oil out would boost growth, generate tax revenue and jobs, and start to fill the gap between what we need and what we produce. The UK and the surrounding seas lie above big gas and oil fields and stores. We need to tap some more. Doing so would even reduce world CO2, as our own gas produces so much less CO2s than imported LNG. Oliver says, thank fuck for that, Deadwood. You're as boring as fuck, but that was gammon time. I thank you.